Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Welcome back to First Yahudin Messianic Temple in Lake Placid, Florida. I am his servant, Maria Simpson, and thank you for joining us and being with us and part of us. And to hear the message today really is for couples. It's in relationships. There's a lot of hanky-panky, and there's a lot of misunderstanding in marriages and relationships. And honestly and truly, I believe that that this message is going to touch and it's going to help a lot of people, men, women, husbands, wives. Because the thing about marriage, a lot of people are having problems, and it's because really they don't understand the concept of marriage. Marriage is not an it. Marriage is divine. Marriage is sacred. Marriage is one of the most profound covenants that the Most High has given a man and a woman to be joined as a husband and wife, and many don't understand this. Is because we were not taught. But marriage is very it's very powerful. We have to understand it, why He instituted marriage, what is the purpose of marriage. But the teaching today is really on relationships. The two will become one, or will be one. How is it that you can be in a marriage and many years, like suppose like 5 years, 10 years after, it's like you don't understand each other? Something is very wrong. It's very wrong. And today I believe that I'm going to touch those subjects and maybe to help you understand your spouse, your husband, your wife, to understand the relationship that you're in better, or maybe one that you are going to enter. As you all see, we're not in Lake Placid today, we're in Miami, in our daughter's house. So this is called the traveling teaching of First Yahudin Messianic Temple, and it's a beautiful day, even though it's cloudy and it's showers and so on. But it's a beautiful day, and let me tell you why it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day because we need rain. We're alive. He has given us this day. We're breathing. And really, we have to be very thankful. We have to be very thankful that we're alive, that He's using us, and He's using you and others to really to teach, because we learn from each other. So this is I'm gonna bring really the message right now, and it's very profound, because there's a lot of things that I see within couples, within husbands and wife, and it's sad what's happening. It's really sad to seeing that you don't see the compassion, you don't see you don't see a lot of good things in couples today, and couples that really love each other. So really, with that in mind, after you get married, what then? What do you do? What really do you do? You get married, and then what? You have children. What then? See, marriage is something that does not end. It doesn't end. Because in marriage, we are constantly learning from each other. So, with that in mind, please open your Bibles to the book of Ephesians. Ephesians chapter number 5, verse 25. Now this is, the one that's speaking here is Paul. Paul is a single man. He's a very learned man, but he never got married. He doesn't know what marriage is, but in reality he does, because he is married to Messiah, to Yeshua. Now, he's saying something here to men that are married, and it captured my eyes, because how can a single man that never been married, how can he say what I'm about to tell you to these men that are married? And this is in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. And look at what he says. Husbands, love your wives, just as Messiah also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of the water by the word, that he might present to himself a glorious church. The church here is talking about the bride, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy. The word holy means set apart, kadosh, without blemish. Verse 28. So this is what really, it touched me. It says, how can that be when this man has never been a husband? Verse 28. So husbands, you ought to love your wives as your own body. You need to love your wives as yourself. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourish it and care for it, just as Yeshua cared for his bride, the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bone. For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Now he's saying here, and I'll explain now in detail what he's talking about. He's saying this is a great mystery. Mystery here means secret. This is a great secret. But I speak concerning the Messiah and his bride. Nevertheless, let each one of you, speaking about his husband, he's speaking to the husband. Let each one of you, husbands, love his own wife as himself. And let the wives respect her husband. Okay, this is in the King James, it says submit. Wives submit. Submitting, so for you ladies out there, yes, the husband is the head, and submitting really is respecting. But what caught my eyes here is that it does not say to the woman or to the wives to love her husband. Paul here is saying to the husbands to love his wife. How is that? How can a single man that never got married, that doesn't know what marriage is, why is he telling in his time these men that are married to love his wife or to love their wives? Well, I believe that what happened here, that what Paul was seeing in married man, is that married men in his time were not treating their wives correctly. In other words, married men in his time were paying more attention to other people that were not his wife. And he said this is very wrong. Very wrong. Okay? He says, husband, love your wife. Or husbands, love your wife. What does that mean? Loving a husband needs to love his wife. And we're not just talking about intimacy. We're talking about giving. Love is giving. Okay? The word love really is serving, is giving. And love, it really is not about receiving. Because it is, you feel greater when you give, when you love, than when you receive. Now, on both sides of the spectrum, There has to be a giving. There has to be a love. But the reason that Paul was saying this to men, or to the husbands, is because women are receivers and men are givers. But in a little bit, I will tell you exactly what men were doing, husbands were doing to their wives, that he says that's inappropriate. You don't do this. You don't treat your wife like this. So another thing that caught my eyes is when he says, husband, love your wives as you love yourself. When a husband mistreats his wife, that husband or that man does not love himself. Because at one point or another, that man also was mistreated. Somewhere along the line, by his parents, somewhere. Okay? So it's very, very important for a man to love. And let's see, we'll find out what it is to love your wife. Man, husband, man, love your wife. What it doesn't mean. Okay. Listen very carefully, because the words that you use to pledge yourself to each other in marriage are some of the most important words you will ever speak. For example, when you got married and you said, I do, that is it's called a covenant, a spiritual covenant, because you are verbalizing that you're committing to this person before you sign that piece of paper. And see, death and life are in the power of your tongue, and they that love it will eat its fruits. So when you say I do in a relationship to marriage, you mean that you are taking this person, no matter what their flaws is. You want this person. You're going to commit to this person. But then what happens? After so many years, what I mean, like maybe 7 years, 10 years, in the marriage, most couples say this: I don't understand my wife. I don't understand my husband. She doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand. So there's something, and it's called understanding, about the marriage that both do not understand. Now, when a husband or wife says, I don't understand what they're talking about, I don't understand them, and I don't understand it in this relationship. Why? Because in order for you to understand your marriage, you really have to understand who created that marriage. Marriage was not instituted by man. Man cannot teach you about marriage. In order for you to understand your marriage, you need to go to the source where it first was founded, was created, and that was by Elohim, by God himself. If you don't understand God, Elohim, how can you understand your marriage? And how can you understand your marriage when you don't understand him? Marriage is spiritual. Marriage is not a natural thing for any human being. It's not natural. But there's profound wisdom in marriage, because the spiritual world guides and governs the natural world. And marriage is no exception of that rule. So we automatically, as human beings, because we live in two worlds, we live in the natural world and we live in the spiritual world, automatically, when things are not going well with our relationship, automatically we begin to look somewhere else, because we think that that's the answer to our relationship, to our marriage. And it's not. Because if you had this relationship and you didn't really work at it, you didn't commit both sides to make it better, what makes you think that now Joe Smo is going to come in, or Susie Q, and it's going to make your marriage better or the relationship better? You first take care of this. Let's see how you do this your marriage to now. Because it is sacred, it's powerful. And the two will become one. And when the two will become one, there's power. Now, What is marriage? Really, what is marriage? And if you notice in the word marriage, there's two R's. Two R's. And really, an R in the Hebrew letter is called resh. It's the letter resh. And resh represents head. It represents above. It represents dominion. It represents authority. Okay? So when you got the two R's, which is the husband and wife, as the resh in their home, in their relationship, nobody else, you got power. So what is marriage? Marriage is different thing for different people. Some people marry for money. Some people marry for obligation, loneliness. There's an arrangement for love, religious reasons. Marriage, they marry for many reasons. But reality is, you marry because it's the right thing to do. The right things to do. You can have children without being married. You can love each other without being married. You can live together without being married. But there's no commitment. And as you are married, you are going to bring your children. And your children, you are going to be a role model. A role model as a husband and wife. Because children are like sponges. So when you don't understand your marriage, and there's a lot of indifferences and yelling and arguing and I don't understand and this and breakups and divorce and separation, the children will look at this and they're very confused. So when you understand your marriage, really understanding your marriage is really not understanding yourself, it's understanding the opposite direction. It's understanding your spouse. It's not understanding you, it's understanding your spouse. See, we invest money in properties. We invest in a lot of things because we're trying to get a revenue, to get something better. Did you ever thought about studying your partner? Studying your wife? Investing in her? Investing in him? Because what you're going to get back is unbelievable. Why am I lately teaching a lot about relationships? Because the secular world, the media, has made marriage like it's no big deal. And it is a big deal to be married. But to the right person, with the right belief, that you're walking hand in hand, respecting, understanding each other, communication. There's a lot of things in marriage. Okay? Why? Why is this so important? Because life's challenges are very hard. And it's nice and it's great to have someone with you to help you overcome and help you when you're weak, to lift you up, to help you keep on going, to put a smile on your face when you don't understand. It's nice to have somebody with you, that you're in a sick bed and that person is caring for you. Not because there's an interest, it's because there's love, there's compassion. And as you get old, it's awesome to have someone that really cares for you. No matter what your flaws are. Marriage is the right thing to do. Now, doesn't it make sense that if Elohim established marriage and not man, that we should go to him? Why do you think a lot of people or a lot of believers don't continue in the word? They believe God, but they don't obey him. They don't understand him. So how can you be expected to learn about your marriage when you are walking away from it? Instead of understanding, instead of finding out how. See, God, Elohim, made everything simple. Do you all agree with me? He made everything simple. We are the one who complicate everything and put everything out of order. See, we get frustrated, out of balance. We don't know how to make our marriage work or our relationship work. You know why? Because we did not read the manual. And what do? What do most of us do? We get frustrated and we call it quits. We give up and call it quits. Because we really don't know what to do. We call it quits, and understand this: winners don't quit. Runners don't quit. And quitters don't win. Your answer is not on someone else. Your answer is in Him. He's got the answer to everything. But how much do you really want your marriage or your relationship to work? How much? Someone asked me a long time ago, and I'm speaking about maybe 20 years ago. Instead of you speaking to marriage, to married men and women, or to women that have gone through a lot, why don't you speak to young people like teenagers and so on? And I said to them, I think that will be awesome, and I can. But see, for me, what really draws my attention is really speaking to men and women, husbands and wives, because they are the ones that are the head of the house. And they are going to teach their children exactly what they're learning or what they're not learning. So my desire, my passion is really for couples. Because husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, are the ones that are role models for their children. You, and I am really speaking to each and every one of you, your parents have been your mentors. You are living and you are acting like the way you saw your parents do. It could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. And then when we grow up and we understand that we are adults and we have a responsibility, what do most of us do? Either you learn to get better because you're seeing your children, your marriage work, so we can better ourselves. Marriage is not an it. Don't call your marriage an it. It is not an it. Marriage is kadosh. What does the word kadosh mean in Hebrew? The word kadosh is what Yahweh is set apart. It's holy. It's sacred. And it's different from any other relationship that you can be in. Any relationship. It's different. It's completely different. And what is so different about this relationship as a husband and wife? It's the only relationship that you will become one flesh. A mother and a child are not one flesh. They're only one flesh when that baby is inside of her. A father and a child only will be one flesh when that seed is inside of him. That's it. But a marriage relationship is from the time you get married until the day you die. It is the only relationship that you become one. It is sacred. It is holy. In Matthew chapter 19, now this is Yeshua speaking to his disciples. Matthew 19:5 says, Yeshua answered, have you not read from the beginning? The Creator made them male and female. And he said, for this reason will a man leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what Elohim has joined together, let no man separate. Is there somebody in your relationship right now that's trying to separate you? Is there a man or a woman that's trying to separate you? Are you trying to separate from that relationship that you are right now? How did that relationship start? Did that relationship start that says, wow, were there like fireworks? You couldn't wait to see each other? What's happening in your relationship? When a man and a woman are in a relationship and they are far away from each other, okay, maybe he's working, she's at home, or vice versa, whatever, for a long period of time, there will come a time that that relationship is not going to last, because that relationship is not being nourished. You don't speak, you don't communicate, you don't touch. Each relationship has to be nourished daily, because there's something new that you will learn in that relationship. And if you haven't learned something that day, you will go through the same experience the following day. You didn't learn the following day, then the next day, until you learn. And then when you do learn, what happens is what I call, you go through doors. Marriage is going through doors. Means that you're going through different levels. In a marriage, you will never stop learning from each other. My husband and I, we've been married for 40 years. I have lived more with my husband than I have lived with my mom and dad. I'm still learning something from every day. I'm seeing something new. And why? It makes it interesting. It makes it awesome, because wow, I didn't see this before. And now I'm learning something from him. And from me learning that, he's teaching me how to be a better person. Not to be a sourpuss. Because let me tell you this. When you stop learning in the relationship, that relationship is dead. That relationship is not going anywhere. But when you're learning something new and something that still you haven't learned, that's going somewhere. See, in order for you to stay in a relationship, it's got to be more than love. Because if love was the answer, then why are there so many divorces? It's got to be more than that. And then we become like little bees. We become like little bees, because now I want to go from this flower to that flower. And it doesn't work. So marriage is very kadosh. Now, marriage is not complicated. We are the ones that complicate it, even though it's not in it. Because we want to make marriage the way we want to make it, and it doesn't work that way. Because marriage is a law. Any law that he has established, if you break it, you will suffer. It is a law, like the law of attraction, the law of gravity, the traffic laws. It is a law. It is a covenant. And when you break that law, it's not going to go well with you. Now, why is Paul saying, husband, love your wives, and he's not saying this for women or wives to love their husband? Why is that? Because it is very easy for a woman to love, but for men it's not. It doesn't mean that a man doesn't love. Doesn't mean that. He's teaching husband, don't mistreat your wife. Don't mistreat her. Don't look at your wife and speak to her like she's another man. Understand where she's coming from. Now, Paul was saying, you men have the wrong attitude towards your wife. That is very wrong. Very wrong. This is why he gave the analogy of Yeshua being the husband and the head of the church, of the bride. Now, Now this is Paul talking and says, men, if you are not giving your wife affection, care, consideration, compassion, understanding, friendliness, kindness, gentleness, sympathy, warmth, and the greatest of them, love, to your wife, then you think, look at this, what do you think that you're going to get back? If you're not giving, look at this, if you're not giving affection to your wife, attention, compassion, friendliness, gentleness to your wife, what do you think you're going to get back? Because see, what you sow, you reap. And then you want her to be so relaxed and, oh, I used to remember when we got married, this is the husband saying to the wife, you were so nice, you were so sexy, you were so beautiful. Well, what are you giving your wife? How much attention are you giving your wife? Now, this is Paul speaking, but he says, what did Paul see in his time the husband were giving their wives? Do you want to hear this? This is what they were giving their wives. And today is no difference. Men, if you are giving your wife coldness, neglect, disrespect, unkindness, hardness, indifference, cruelty, hatred, what do you think you're going to get back? And he said, if you doing all this and you're really not you're mistreating your wife and you're not loving her, you're headed for trouble. You are really heading for trouble. Most husbands today can give a compliment to other women before he gives it to his wife. How can that be? That's wrong. That is wrong. Husbands, love your wives. Care for your wife. Do not ignore your wife. Don't neglect her. Study her. Study her. What does she need? In return, what that wife is going to do, she's going to study you and she will submit and she will give you your needs. What you sow, you will reap. What have you been sowing in your marriage? What have you been sowing in your husband, in your wife? I speak to women all the time. To men too, but mostly women. And most women today are struggling with a feeling of scorn and resentment toward her husband who neglects her. Women are crying out. Listen, don't just hear your wife. Listen to what she's saying to you. Put attention. Put the cell on the side. Put whatever it is, put it on the side when your wife comes to you. Women feel resentment. They feel resentment towards their husband because most husbands are not paying attention to their wives. And then when they see the Coca-Cola going by, it's normal for a man to look at another woman just like a woman looking at a man. But what does most husbands say to the wife? Fix your hair. Did you see your dress? Instead of giving her compliments. What happened with that? What happened that you couldn't wait? Man, that you couldn't wait to see the woman in your life, the wife that you have now. Look at what she has given you. She's giving you children. She's giving you yourself. She's giving to you. And what are you doing? Complimenting other women? And there's nothing wrong with complimenting other women. But what about the one you have? There are women that are married right now for 30, 35 years, and they're crying out because their husband don't pay no attention to them. And what most husbands do, since most women do work outside the home. Oh, honey, did you get your check today? Oh, I love you. How much did you make? Husbands, stop treating your wife like she's another man. Stop. Husband, love your wives. But this is my question to you, husbands, including you wives. How can you give what you don't have? And how can you have what you don't give? If you want your wife to be more loving and attentive and to really to respect you more, you need to respect her. Because see, you cannot get respect until you give it. You cannot expect to receive love unless you give it. So really, how can you give what you don't have? And how can you have what you don't give? Because giving is a quality of kindness. It's generosity, it's affection, your concern, your consideration. To your husbands out there, begin to do things different with your wife. And see, being a husband is not being just a good father or a breadwinner. It's a combination of a lot of things. But when you don't love your wife, you're headed for trouble. Because when the wife is not happy in her house, you're headed for trouble. And do you think the other Coca-Cola that you're after is going to make things better because you don't like this one? No, that one comes with more problems. Because if you didn't take care of this one, how can you take care of that one? Marriage is about growing. It's about maturing. Marriage really is the two becoming one, and really is the most sacred covenant, and it's awesome. Men, love your wives. Give to your wife. Give. And it says in the Bible, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure you give, it's the same measure you're going to get. So if you are mistreating your wife, okay, because you don't see her the same way you used to see her, and she's very precious, the same way others are going to see you. Because that's what you're portraying outside. And what you're portraying, it will come back to you. Do you love yourself? To everybody, do you love yourself? Yes or no? If you love, and this is to the men, this is to the husband. If you love yourself, then why don't you love your wife the way you're supposed to? See, the funny thing about marriage is that most couples, they go to therapy when there's a problem. I don't believe this. You know why I don't believe this? Because when you have a problem with your friends, you don't take your friend to therapy. So if you don't take your friend that you're having problem with, then why should you take your husband and wife? When you go to the therapist, most therapists are having problems with their own relationship. How can that person help you? How can they help you? When they never been where you've been, and they're having problems just like you are. Why don't you take them to somebody that has had your problems, has overcome that, so they can help you, and actually is somebody that really understands what marriage is all about? Because you have therapists right now that tells you, you know what, the best thing for you to do is, you know what, just secretly, why don't you have sex with somebody else? It's about sex. If you don't take your friend that you've been so much friend with for a long time, now you're having problems, you don't take them to therapy, why should you take your husband or your wife? That doesn't make sense to me. Do you know why marriage is divine? It is spiritual. You know why? It's because marriage, look at this, takes you something beyond what you are. What is so divine about marriage? Because marriage is to get you bigger than yourself. And bigger than yourself is talking about your natural person. It takes you into the spiritual world. To be able to hear another person's without imposing your own prejudice. If your spouse is sensitive about something, listen. Listen. You got 2 ears to listen to what he or she is saying. You are there to make your partner's life easier, more pleasant, more than any human nature dictates. You are asked to be divine. And the reason we get scared when there's problem in marriage is because we look at it in the natural. We don't look at it in the spiritual. And we run towards another person that's natural. And that person cannot help us either. Marriage between a man and a woman is for the purpose of each partner helping to lift the other in a commitment of divine friendship, love, loyalty, that will move both souls closer to their true nature in the circle they share. When you enter into a marriage, you enter into what is called a spiritual relationship, not a natural relationship. Marriage is spiritual because it consists of a feminine force feeling and receiving and uniting with a masculine force, reason and giving, and thus becoming whole in one as God Elohim, one in Him. Women are motivated primarily by feeling and men by reason. Marriage is meant to balance these two qualities between a husband and a wife. The souls that went out from God, Elohim, were to be brought back to Elohim, God, by becoming one in intimacy. When you become one in intimacy, and I know I'm going to speak to all of you that are married, and all of you that are about to get married, or what happens is, and I explained this the last time, when you are in intimacy, when you both go to the grand slam of everything, and you understand where I'm coming from, when you come to that point, you are no longer natural. What you're feeling is supernatural. What you're feeling, it is in the spiritual world that you don't want it to. You want that feeling because there you meet each other, who you are spiritually, and there Yahweh meets you. And it's something that you cannot have with everybody. This kind of relationship you don't have with everybody. Only your husband or your wife. Because you're surrendering. You commit to this person. And when you do this, you see the other person in the spirit and he sees you. And what happens? Or vice versa. What happens? You don't want that feeling to go away. And you want to be like that all the time. Because there you meet your maker. There you're not in the natural world. There you don't think about bills. There you don't think about problems. There you don't think how many flaws he or she has. You don't think, you are completely in the spiritual realm. And it's awesome. And you cannot have this with just anybody. And I explained that the last time. You can have sex with anybody. But that intimacy, husband and wife. What happens when a man disobeys Elohim and puts his wife last? Do you want to see this? I'm not going to go into the Bible because it's kind of hard and it's really hot out here. But there was a man, and you all know this man. His name in the Bible is called Noah. Noah. Noah disobeyed Elohim with one order. One order. And this you can find in Genesis chapter 8, verse 15 and 16. And then verse number 18. Now, what happened here? And I'll read it in a little bit. When the flood, everything was over, Elohim, God said to Noah, when you come out of the ark, you are going to be first. But the next person that you're going to bring out is your wife. And the following is going to be your sons, and the following is going to be their wives. But he didn't listen. He decided to put his children first. He came out. Then the one that came after him was his son. And then his wife, and then the daughter-in-laws. Now, because this happened, and I'll read it to you in a minute. Look at what happened to Noah. His children went in different directions, different parts of the world, and actually something happened there that his younger son saw Noah naked. Really, what is supposed to be that really something, whether he castrated his father or had sex with his father or his mother, and I'm talking about Ham, something happened there that Noah cursed his son. Now look at what it says on Genesis chapter 8 verse 15. And Elohim spoke unto Noah, saying, go forth out of the ark, you and your wife, your sons and your son's wife with thee. But what did Noah do? On verse 18. And Noah went forth, his sons, his wife, and his son's wife with him. He did not hear what Yahweh was saying, so he made his wife, that is his number one. In other words, that two become one. He made his sons number one. Husbands, Yahweh say, husband, love, Noah, love your wife. She comes after, you come first. Comes your wife next to you. When men put their wives on somewhere down in the coach section, and you put other women or other people or other things before your wife, you're bringing trouble into that marriage, because you're not giving honor where honor is due. You're not respecting what Yahweh has given you. That woman he has given you. And if you don't respect what you have, you're not going to get respect back. Yes. Husband, this is husband, love your wives. Why do most couples don't understand their marriage? Because marriage is a school. And you will be giving lessons, and you need to learn for your soul to grow. Not your flesh, your soul. Marriage is a school. And every day there are lessons for your soul to grow. What has happened in staying together in a marriage? When you ask people today, I would say divorce has become so huge. Whether you are a believer or non-believer, you're human. Yes, faith has a lot to do with it. Yes, you do, because you know it gives you morals, and you know it teaches you how important it is about the husband and what. And yes, I believe this. But look at the divorce rates amongst believers. Look at how marriages, husbands and wife, are treating each other, that they will grow up in faith. So it's more than that. I said this before, if you invest, we invest money in business, in real estate, in stocks, in bonds, etc., for the purpose of obtaining an income or a profit. So why don't we invest in our spouse, in our marriage, in our relationship, in communication, in understanding, for the purpose of obtaining a happier and better marriage? See, because Elohim cannot be mocked. Whatsoever we are sowing, that also we shall reap. So why are you complaining about your marriage when most are not doing nothing about it? Whatever you're feeling right now, whatever you're feeling every day, your feeling is what is going to attract what you want. Your attitude will attract what you want. Feelings, emotions are the ones that will attract. So if you don't want hate in your life, in your relationship, then why do you think about that? If you want more, a relation that is more loving and understanding, why don't you think about that? The more you think about something that you don't want and constantly are feeling it, hate and anger and whatever it is, guess what you're going to attract? And this is not a doody-doody. This is the truth. I dare you, I challenge you today to do from today is Saturday, all day today, just think of something that is it's not just positive, the way you feel, good feelings, and watch what you're going to attract. Watch what you're going to attract. Husbands, give more compliments to your wife. Your wives, lower your voice, your tone of voice to your husband, and in a kinder way. The other day, 2 days ago, my husband and I, we were eating in McDonald's early in the morning, having a cup of coffee. There was this father, and to me it was the father because the son looked like him. Now this is about a man that's about maybe 6 feet tall, 6'2". Early in the morning, he brings his laptop, and the little boy must have just got out of the bed, and he had like a little blanket in the section where, you know, the kids play. There was just us, my husband and I, and both of them. The father takes these two fingers, because apparently the child was still sleepy, and he must have been, I don't know, 5 years old. he gets these two fingers. I don't know if he has a little long nails on, and he takes his ear and he squeezes his ear real hard. And the child, the boy begins to crying. My husband asked me what's going on because I could see, and I told my husband what happened, and he goes, "That's not right." The father says, in a loud, now he's saying in a loud voice, whatever, I don't remember the child saying, goes, "Hey, enough." The child just stopped. If this is happening that we see today, imagine how it is in the house. Imagine how it is in the house. And then this type of man wants his children to respect him. No, that child fears you. You don't want your child to fear you. You want your child to respect you. Because he's taking, that father is taking his frustration to that child. Before things change, we need to change. He has given us a world that really we can do honestly and truly. We can appreciate, we can have fun, we can enjoy. It all depends on you. What kind of marriage do you want? What kind of relationship do you want? Do you want a better one? What is it that you need to learn to better yourself? How do you want? What is it that you need and that both of you need to learn to really make it work? How far will you go to make it better? Is this lesson helping you today? There's a lady that I know. She's also been married for 40 years. The husband makes good money. Well, he's already retired. Has money. They're retired. Around our age. She said to me, "Not everything that shines is gold. You have no idea how much I have been suffering in this marriage." Husbands, listen to what your wife is saying. Listen to her. Ladies, wives, listen to your husbands. Because marriage grows in this way. If you want your marriage to grow, number one, you have to work together to make it work. This is not a one-way deal. It is not. And ladies, just because you are doing, and you're doing, and you really want to, and you want to give him because you want him to accept you, it's not going to happen. Because when a woman is constantly giving and giving, and she's not receiving, because that is what the feminine energy is to receive, then something is missing. Number two, you work together to make it work. Number two, you feel successful at what you do in the relationship. Number three, make a decision to do it together. Number four, you need to work through conflicts. We will always have conflicts in a relationship. Don't think that my husband and I, being 40 years married, that we don't have indifference. We don't, believe me when I tell you, we really don't argue. There is indifferences. He gets in his mode, he quiets down. I said, okay, that's a time. I have to let him go, let him come down. Because we love to talk, and then when he comes down, we'll sit down like adults. You know what, this happened, and then that's how you do it. You have to make a decision to work together, not against each other. Your husband, your wife is not your enemy. You are playing a game. You are playing baseball, basketball. You're in a team. You're trying to make a business work. Your marriage is a business, even though it's a bad example, but it's true. Work through conflicts. Number 5, you need to support each other's needs. I don't care how spiritual you are. That doesn't make any difference. I don't care how spiritual you are. You really think because you're Holy Patrol and you're so spiritual that's going to make your marriage work? Marriage is like soup. You need all the right ingredients to make it taste good. And one of the main ingredients in a soup, if it's missing, it's not going to taste good. And that ingredient is called salt. If you don't put salt in that soup, it's not going to taste good. Because the salt is the one that brings all the flavors to that soup. So don't think just because you're spiritual and, you know, a la binabano sandwiches and it doesn't make, no. It's a combination of a lot of things. Number 6. You need to have fun together. You need to play together. You need to laugh more often. I don't know how many times, and I really mean this. There's not one day in the day that my husband and I don't laugh. And I really mean laughing. Not that we're making fun at anybody. We're just laughing. And laugh at each other. We're laughing. That sometimes I cry. Sometimes I said, I can't be. My stomach hurts. When you, and let me tell you, have fun together. Play together. Number 7. This is really a really doozy one. Overcome the leaky roofs in your relationship. You will have leaky roofs while you're married. Whether you're married with this person, whether you're going to marry with someone, you will always have a leaky roof. And you need to overcome and you need to fix those leaky roofs. Those leaky roofs. And you know what? It's not about buying another house. It's not about having another wife. It's not about having another husband. It's about fixing those leaky roofs. And you know why a lot in marriage don't fix the leaky roofs? It's because they're lazy. It takes work to fix a roof. It takes work to fix a marriage. But it takes 2 people to fix what's happening, not one person. Number 8. Hold each other to high principles. In what category do you place your husband or your wife? Do you place your wife high? Do you place your husband high in high principles, or do you put him on the? Where do you put him? Do you put him on the bench, or do you put him plain? Do you put him on the coach, or do you put him on first class? You need to hold yourself in high principles, both. Number 9. Appreciate and respect one another's individuality. Every person is different. Your husband, they're different. And you need to appreciate and respect their individuality. Stop complaining and stop criticizing each other. Number 10. Challenge one another to take the next step. What is the next step? The next step is the next door you're going to enter in marriage. The next step is called divine. It's called a level that you're not right now. And take that step, take that challenge, and says, let's go together. it feels great. It feels awesome. Because he begins to speak and you begin to speak and you're listening to each other, and it's called communication. And you begin to say, wow, why wasn't I like this before? Why didn't I understand him before? Why didn't I understand her before? So challenge one another and take the next step. Number 11. Build a better and healthy relationship. You're doing this for each other. When your children grow up, they're going to have their own lives. And the person you're going to have is that person you marry. Number 12. Experience victory together. Reward yourself every time you have a victory in your marriage. Reward yourself every time that you have learned from each other. Kiss yourself. Kiss each other. Hug each other. And experience victory together. Number 13. Learn from each other's mistakes and setbacks. You learn from, not from your mistakes, you learn from the other's mistakes to be better. Because she is telling you, this is what I want, and he is telling him what she wants. And learn from each other's mistakes. We make mistakes every day. We're not perfect. And look at how imperfect we are. Did you know that when you look yourself in the mirror, one eye is bigger than the other? Did you know that one ear is lower than the other? Did you know that one hand is bigger than the other? Did you know that one leg is bigger than the other? Did you know that one leg is swollen, it's a little bit more swollen than the other? A woman, one side of the breast is bigger than the other. Look at our lips. One lip is always one bigger than the other. Very rare you see them like complete. No. So that means that look at our nose. Look at our nose. One hole is bigger than the other. But where our perfection is in the spirit person. There is when we are perfect. So we need to learn from each other's mistakes and setbacks. Why? Because every day that we go to sleep at night, it's a form of death, burial. When we wake up, it's resurrections. When we take a shower, it's baptism. When we clothe ourselves, it's the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. When we are eating, it's that He supports us, He's given us to eat. When we're driving, those are like angels that are flying from other places. We need to see things in a different perspective. We need to see things we need to see the person that we live in a different way. And last but not least, you need to see the responsibility that you have towards each other. Husbands, you are responsible for your wife or for your wives. Wives, you are responsible for your husbands. We need to look at marriage in a different viewpoint. We cannot see marriage in the natural form. When you begin to see marriage as what it is, spiritual, you will have more joy. You will have more intimacy. You will understand. You will love life more. You want to be next to this person. You will be more thankful to Elohim. You cannot wait for the next day to see what your husband, in my case, he's going to bring. What the wife is going to bring. Because what is marriage? Marriage is a new awakening every single day. No other relationship is like marriage. And when you understand this, you will leave what it is. Leave the marriage of the natural world, and you will understand the marriage of the spiritual world. That is where you receive power and anointing and love, and you will understand each other more like never before. This has been a very interesting day. It started with rain, and now we see the sunshine. It started one way, and it's awesome. It was a little warm or hot, but now it got cool. You see how life changes, and it's called shifts. It's called changes. There's got to be changes in your life. There's got to be changes in your marriage for better. Every time you have a problem, learn from it and make it better. It's going to make you a better person. And today is the perfect example. What have you learned from this teaching? What have you learned from this experience? What have I learned from being today in this carport, in our daughter's house, in Miami? What have I learned? I'm going to tell you what I've learned. That the way things start is not the way things are going to end. It was gloomy and raining and gray, and it was hot. But as we evolve and we shift, it is beautiful, it is cool, it is breezy, it is awesome, the sun is out. And I love it. So don't stay stuck in your gloomy days and go more towards the bright days. We love you. Thank you for being with us. And once again, until next time, Shalom Aleichem, Shavua Tov, from First Yahudin Messianic Temple.